The rain hammered the roof of our cramped Brooklyn apartment like God's own judgment. But it was my sister's voice that shattered the silence first. A guttural sob that echoed off the peeling wallpaper. "Ryan, I can't do this anymore. The doctors say it's spreading." I froze in the kitchen doorway, coffee mug slipping from my fingers, shards exploding across the linoleum like the fragile lie she was about to unleash. In that instant, as her eyes, those same hazel eyes we'd shared since birth, locked onto mine with feigned desperation, I knew our family was fracturing beyond repair. I was 25, scraping by as a barista in a hipster coffee shop in Williamsburg, dreaming of something more while dodging the ghosts of my closeted youth. Mom and Dad had always been the salt-of-the-earth types. Dad, a retired NYPD cop with a beer gut and a heart of gold. Mom, a schoolteacher who baked apple pies that could mend fences. We'd grown up in a row house in Bay Ridge, the kind where neighbors waved from stoops and Sunday dinners were sacred. But sacred things have a way of crumbling when money gets involved. And my sister, Elena, had always been the golden child, the one who could do no wrong, even when she did everything wrong. Started small. Elena called me one Tuesday night, her voice a wreck over the phone. "Ryan, it's bad. Stage 3. I need help with bills." I drove to her place in Queens that same night, found her curled on the couch in oversized sweats, a stack of medical bills fanned out like a bad poker hand. She was 27, a failed actress who'd bounced from temp job to temp job, always one audition away from stardom. I believed her at first. Why wouldn't I? Cancer doesn't discriminate, and neither did our family's history of quiet resilience. I emptied my savings, $2,300 wired to her account before dawn. "Whatever you need, Elle," I said, hugging her frail frame. "We're in this together." Word spread like wildfire through the family group chat. Aunt Maria sent prayers and a casserole. Uncle Tony offered to drive her to chemo. Mom and Dad, they mobilized like it was D-Day. Dad cashed in his pension bonds, 10 grand, gone in a check to the hospital. Mom started a GoFundMe, "Help Elena Fight," with a photo of her looking gaunt and brave, bald cap and all. Donations poured in, $15,000 in 2 weeks from church friends, old colleagues, even strangers touched by the story. Elena's Instagram lit up with thank yous, her follower count spiking as she posted chemo updates from what looked suspiciously like a Starbucks bathroom. I saw the cracks early. One night, after a double shift, I swung by her apartment unannounced. She answered the door in yoga pants and a crop top, laughing into her phone about some party. No 4 scars, no nausea pallor, just the glow of a girl who'd hit the spa with donor cash. "Ryan, what a surprise," she chirped, but her eyes darted to the coffee table strewn with shopping bags, designer heels, a new iPhone. I confronted her right there, voice low and trembling. "Elle, this isn't adding up. The bills, the treatments, where's the proof?" She crumpled then, but not from illness, from rage. "You think I'm lying? After everything, you're just jealous, Ryan. Always have been. The family baby who couldn't hack it." Her words sliced deeper than any scalpel. Jealous? Of her spotlight-stealing chaos? I'd spent years hiding my truth from them. My queerness. The boys I'd loved in secret. The ache of never quite fitting the mold of the straight-A son they wanted. But I pushed it down. Gathered evidence. Forged doctor's notes from a template site. Bank statements showing spa days and rent paid in full. I compiled it all into a folder. Drove to Mom and Dad's that Sunday for the intervention I'd planned. The dining room smelled of roast chicken and betrayal. Mom set the table with her good china. Dad cracked a beer. Elena arrived fashionably late in a sundress that screamed, "Survivor chic." I laid it out gently at first. The folder open, printouts splayed. "Guys, Elena's been exaggerating. For money. Look at this, it's all fake." Silence, thick as fog off the East River. Then Elena burst into tears, the kind that win Oscars. "How can you say that, Ryan? I'm dying. You're killing me with this hate." Dad's face reddened, veins bulging like subway maps. "What the hell is wrong with you, son? Accusing your sister like some lowlife." Mom clutched Elena's hand, whispering comforts, her eyes on me like I'd brought the plague. I stammered defenses, the receipts, the photos, but they blurred into accusations. "You've always been dramatic, Ryan," Mom said softly, the words landing like a gut punch. "Maybe this is your way of getting attention. But Elena needs us now." By dessert, it was over. Dad stood, towering in his chair. "Get out. You're not welcome here until you apologize." Elena smirked behind her sobs, a flicker I caught like a shadow. I left in the rain, duffel bag slung over my shoulder, the family photos on the wall blurring through tears. Cast out. For her lie. For daring to speak truth. The streets of Bay Ridge swallowed me whole that night. I crashed on a coworker's couch in Bushwick, the city lights mocking my isolation. Days blurred into shifts at the coffee shop, where steam from the espresso machine burned hotter than the rejection in my chest. That's when Matthew walked in. He was a vision in the mundane, tall, with tousled chestnut hair that caught the morning sun filtering through the shop's grimy windows, green eyes sharp as fresh basil. He ordered a black coffee, no frills, but lingered at the counter, sketching in a worn notebook while I frothed milk for the next rush. "Rough day?" he asked, catching my 1,000-yard stare as I handed him his cup. His voice was low, warm like aged whiskey on a winter night. I shrugged, wiping foam from my apron. "Family stuff. You know how it is." But he didn't press, just slid onto a stool and drew, quick lines forming a caricature of the barista behind me, all exaggerated nose and wild hair. I laughed, first real one in days, and he grinned, dimples carving canyons in his cheeks. "Matthew," he said, extending a hand rough from construction work. "And you look like you could use a real conversation." We talked until my shift ended. He was 30, a carpenter restoring brownstones in Bed-Stuy, originally from Seattle but chasing the East Coast hustle. Divorced, no. Wait, never married, but with an ex who taught him the art of walking away. And gay, unapologetically, with stories of pride parades and bad hookups that made my guarded heart crack open just a sliver. "Coming out's like jumping off a cliff," he said, tracing the rim of his mug. "Scary as hell, but the free fall, worth it." I nodded, but inside, I was still mid-fall. That night, we grabbed beers at a dive bar on Knickerbocker, neon signs buzzing like fireflies. He listened as I spilled it all. Elena's scam, the parents' blind faith, the eviction from my own blood. "They chose her lie over my truth," I said, voice breaking on the last word. Matthew's hand found mine across the sticky table, thumb brushing knuckles in a gesture so tender it ached. "Then they're the ones who lost you, Ryan. Not the other way around." From there, it bloomed slow and sweet, like spring in Central Park. Matthew's loft in Bushwick became my harbor. exposed brick walls lined with half-finished sculptures, a king bed piled with quilts from his grandma. Our first kiss happened on a fire escape. City hum below us, his lips tasting of rain and possibility. "I've wanted this since the sketch," he murmured, pulling me closer, bodies aligning like puzzle pieces long separated. It was electric, hands exploring scars both seen and unseen, breaths mingling in the humid night. Making love with him felt like coming home, urgent, reverent, his whispers of "you're safe," chasing away the echoes of family scorn. But peace is fleeting in stories like mine. Elena's battle raged on, the GoFundMe climbing to $50,000. I kept tabs from afar, anonymous tips to a local reporter fizzling when no one bit. Mom called once, voice steel, "Apologize, Ryan." For her sake, I hung up, chest caving. Matthew held me through the nights that followed, his body a shield against the storm. "You're building something real here," he'd say, fingers tracing my spine. "Don't let them tear it down." Summer sweltered in, and with it, the first real conflict. Matthew's crew landed a big gig, restoring a Victorian in Park Slope for a wealthy client who turned out to be Aunt Maria's bridge partner. Word got back. Gossip travels faster than light on the F train. One evening, as we grilled burgers on his tiny balcony, his phone buzzed. A text from his sister. "Heard about your boyfriend's family drama. Careful, Matt crazy runs deep." My stomach dropped. "They know about us?" he sighed, setting down the tongs. "Small world, but it's out there now." "You okay?" Was I? The exposure thrilled and terrified. My queerness, once a shadow, now spotlighted. But Elena's shadow loomed larger. She posted a miracle update. "Scans clear, thanks to donors." The comments exploded. "God bless, warrior." I seethed in silence, until a late-night scroll unearthed the truth, or part of it. A blurry photo from a mutual friend. Elena at a Hamptons party, champagne flute in hand, no trace of illness. I showed Matthew, rage boiling over. "This ends now. I'm going public." He cautioned restraint. "Let karma handle it." But I was done hiding. I drafted an email to the family, CCING the GoFundMe backers. Evidence attached. Plea for justice. Sent it at 2 a.m., heart pounding like a jackhammer. Dawn brought the backlash. Dad's voicemail. "You disgusting traitor. Don't ever contact us again." Mom's silence was worse, a void that swallowed whole. Elena, a single text. "Hope you're happy, little brother. Rot in hell." I shattered a glass against the wall, shards glittering like fallen stars. Matthew found me on the floor, pulled me into his lap. "Breathe, love. We're in the trenches together, but trenches have ambushes." 2 weeks later, the reporter finally called, a scrappy kid from the Post. "This story's gold. Fake cancer scam? Family implosion? You gay and disowned? It'll blow up." I hesitated, glancing at Matthew nursing a coffee across the kitchen. "Do it," he urged. "Reclaim your narrative." The article dropped on a Tuesday. Brooklyn sisters' sham cancer saga tears family apart. Brother outs the lie. Pays with exile. Photos. Elena's party pic. The forged notes. My tearful quote, "Love shouldn't demand blindness." The internet erupted. Hashtags trended. Fake cancer fraud. Family betrayal. Strangers rallied. Offers of jobs. Therapy. even a podcast deal. But the hate, vicious. Trolls called me a fame whore, a bitter fag spinning tales for clicks. Elena went dark online, but whispers said she was lawyering up, suing for defamation. Climax hit like a nor'easter. Dad showed at Matthew's door one stormy Friday, rain-soaked and wild-eyed, Elena trailing like a ghost in the downpour. "We need to talk," he growled, pushing past. The living room confrontation was raw theater. Accusations flying, Elena wailing about ruined life, Mom on speakerphone begging peace. "You chose sides, Ryan," Dad bellowed. "Blood over everything. Blood," I shot back, voice steel for the first time. "She bled us dry, and you let her, because facing her meant facing me, your gay son." The disappointment. The room stilled. Elena sneered. "Always the victim," but Dad faltered, eyes flicking to Matthew's hand in mine. This ain't right." Matthew stepped forward, calm as a lighthouse. "It's love, sir. Real as yours for her lie." Elena lunged then, verbal venom. "He's poisoned you against us." Chaos peaked. Dad grabbing my arm, me wrenching free, a shove that sent him stumbling. Cops called by a neighbor, badges flashing like bad omens. Elena fled in an Uber, Dad arrested for disorderly, charges dropped. But the fracture? Irreparable. In the aftermath, Matthew and I rebuilt on rubble. Therapy sessions in a sunlit office, where I unpacked the closet's weight, the betrayal's bruise. Elena vanished. Rumors of a fresh start in LA. Fund money squandered. Mom sent one letter. "Forgive us." We were scared. No apology for the casting out, but a crack in the wall. Fall painted the city gold, and on a crisp October day, Matthew proposed on that same fire escape, ring simple, silver band etched with freefall. I said yes, tears salting the kiss. Our wedding was small. Bushwick rooftop, friends in flannel, vows exchanged under string lights. "You saved me," I whispered. He smiled, that dimpled one. "Nah. You saved yourself." Years later, as we adopted our son, little Jamie, with his mop of curls and endless questions, I'd look back on the rain-soaked exile and see grace. Family isn't blood. It's the ones who stay in the storm. Elena, postcard once. From California, sorry. Working on me. No response needed. Matthew's hand in mine. Jamie's laughter echoing. That was redemption. Human, messy, profoundly ours. The wedding afterglow faded into the grind of new beginnings. But the scars from that family implosion lingered like subway graffiti. Bold, impossible to erase. Matthew and I settled into a rhythm in our Bushwick brownstone. The one he'd half restored with calloused hands and endless optimism. Mornings started with his coffee brewing strong. My sketches scattered across the kitchen table. I'd picked up graphic design gigs, turning doodles into logos for indie bands and queer-owned bakeries. It was a life stitched from salvaged threads. Pride flags in the window, date nights at queer poetry slams, the quiet joy of bodies entwined without shame. But joy has a way of inviting ghosts. 6 months post-vows, Mom reached out again. Not a letter this time, but a hesitant call on Jamie's adoption day. We just signed the papers in a fluorescent-lit office. Matthew's arm around me as the social worker handed over the certificate. "He's ours," I breathed, kissing the document like it was holy writ. My phone buzzed then, Mom's number flashing like a warning. I answered, heart in throat. "Ryan," she said, voice thin as onion skin. "Congratulations." We saw the announcement in the paper. The New York Times wedding blurb small, but it mentioned the disownment, a nod to resilience. Silence stretched, broken only by Jamie's coos in Matthew's arms. "Can we meet? Just coffee." "For old times." I glanced at Matthew, his nod subtle but sure. We agreed neutral ground, a diner in Midtown where the eggs were greasy and the past couldn't quite touch. She arrived early, looking smaller than memory, gray streaks in her hair, hands twisting a napkin like rosary beads. Hugs were awkward, air kisses that missed cheeks. "He's beautiful," she said of Jamie, eyes misting as Matthew bounced him gently. Small talk skated surface. Weather, my designs, her retirement from teaching. Then, the dive. "About Elena," she started, stirring sugar into tea she wouldn't drink. "She's struggling. The lawsuit fell through, but the shame, it's eating her." I stiffened, fork pausing mid-bite. "Struggling? After the Hamptons highs and donor lows? She wants to apologize," Mom pressed. "In person. To all of us." Matthew's foot nudged mine under the table, steady, like an anchor. "Why now?" I asked, voice even. Mom's eyes dropped. "Because we're losing you both. And Dad. He's sick, Ryan. Real this time. Heart stuff." The words landed soft, insidious. Dad, the unshakable cop, felled by arteries clogged from years of stress and denial. Guilt twisted like a knife. Had my exposure hastened it? Or was it Elena's lie, the one they'd shouldered? We agreed to the meeting, against Matthew's quiet reservations. "Protect your peace," he said that night, as Jamie slept between us, tiny chest rising like bellows. "But blood calls, even when it's poisoned." The reunion was set for Christmas Eve at the Old Bay Ridge House, snow dusting the stoop like powdered sugar on a wound. The drive over was a time machine in reverse, past the Verrazano, the familiar curve of Shore Road, lights twinkling in windows that once held our laughter. Matthew gripped the wheel, jaw set. "If it turns south, we leave." No heroics. I nodded, but inside, hope flickered. Maybe redemption was a holiday miracle, Hallmark scripted but heartfelt. Elena answered the door, thinner now, no trace of survivor glow. "Ryan," she said, voice small. Hugs exchanged, tentative as first steps. Dad sat in his recliner, oxygen tube snaking from nose to tank, eyes hollow but kindling at Jamie's sight. "Grandkid," he rasped, holding out arms. Matthew handed him over carefully, and for a moment, the room warmed, stories swapped, eggnog poured, non-alcoholic for Dad. Dinner was roast beef and Yorkshire puddings, Mom's recipe unchanged. Conversation danced around minds. My designs thriving, Matthew's crew expanding to eco-builds, Elena's therapy journey. Then, post-pie, she cleared her throat. "I need to say it. I'm sorry, Ryan. For the lie, the hurt. I was desperate, scared of failing. But that's no excuse." Tears tracked her cheeks, real ones this time. Applause from Mom, a nod from Dad. "We should have seen it," he added gruffly. "Believed you." I searched their faces, regret etched deep. But was it enough? "It broke me," I admitted, Matthew's hand warm on my knee. Not just the money. The choice. You picked her fiction over my reality. Elena reached across, palm up. I get it. Let me make it right, whatever it takes. The drive home was quieter, snow falling thicker. Think it's genuine? Matthew asked, gloved hand on mine. Maybe, I said. Or maybe forgiveness isn't about them. It's about me letting go. Spring brought tentative bridges, weekly calls with Mom, Dad's progress reports, Elena volunteering at a cancer support group, ironic penance. Jamie's first steps happened over video chat, their cheers crackling through speakers. Matthew and I grew roots deeper. Nights debating baby names, we settled on Theo for the next. Weekends hiking Prospect Park, his laughter chasing my doubts. But betrayal's echo is long. Summer heat wave, and Elena's amends soured. She asked for a loan, just $5,000, for a fresh start course, swearing collateral in jewelry. I wired it, heart hopeful. Weeks later, radio silence. A mutual friend texted, saw her in Miami, clubbing hard. The sting was familiar, sharper for the repeat. Confrontation via FaceTime. Her face flushed, denials flying. It's not like that. The course fell through, but her backdrop screamed beach vockey. Again. Elena, I said, voice cracking. After everything? She hung up, blocking me. Mom's follow-up call, defensive, then defeated. She promised. I'll handle it. Dad's health dipped then, another scare, bypass surgery that left him frail. Hospital vigil. Me and Matthew in the waiting room, Mom pacing, Elena MIA. Where is she? I demanded when Mom finally sat. Tears, confessions. She's spiraling again. Pills. Maybe worse. The cycle, lie, crash, repeat. I held Mom as she sobbed, Matthew's arm around us both. We're here, he said simply. But she has to want it. Recovery for Dad was slow, marked by bedside chats. I was wrong, son. He wheezed one afternoon, Jamie napping on his chest. About you, about love. Matthew, he's good people. Pride swelled, bittersweet. Means the world. Dad. We talked queerness then, awkward, halting. His cop stories of ignored beat partners, regrets unspoken. Wish I'd been braver. Elena resurfaced in fall, clean-shaven and contrite, checking into rehab on her own dime. Rock bottom, she emailed, photo attached of a sparse dorm room. No more games. Love you, bro. Skepticism lingered, but I replied proud. Take it day by day. Winter holidays healed incrementally. Full table at our place. Dad in a wheelchair but beaming. Elena tentative with Jamie, sharing blocks and giggles. Toasts raised to new chapters. Matthew's eyes met mine across the turkey. Love, unyielding. Yet, the true climax brewed in shadows. Spring 2028. A letter arrived. Elena's lawsuit. Not against me, but the GoFundMe platform, claiming emotional distress from public shaming. Buried in fine print. My name as co-defendant for inciting the narrative. Betrayal 2.0. Slicker. Lawyered. She's coming for blood money again, I told Matthew, paper crumpling in fist. The call to arms. Family meeting at a lawyer's office in Flatiron. Air thick with tension. Elena arrived last. Suit sharp. Eyes defiant. It's not personal, she claimed. Just justice. Dad's face crumpled. This ends us, girl, Mom pleaded, tears flowing. I stood, voice steady. It was never about justice. Always survival at any cost. Her mask slipped then, rage. You had it easy, mister. Perfect gay designer with his knight in shining armor. I was invisible. The room reeled. Her screams of abandonment, our parents enabling as neglect. Matthew intervened. Calm voice cutting through. Pain doesn't justify poison. Get help, Elena. Real help. She stormed out. Case dropped weeks later, too weak to fight. Dad passed that summer, peaceful in sleep. Last words a gruff, love ya, kid. Funeral brought closure. Eulogies shared. Elena subdued in black, her hand briefly in mine. I'm trying, she whispered. For real. In the quiet after, Matthew and I walked Coney Island boardwalk at dusk. Theo, our second, a rambunctious toddler, between us, Jamie chasing gulls. Waves crashed like applause, the skyline a promise. We made it, I said, kissing him salt-lipped. He grinned. Damn right. And we're just getting started. Humanity's in the mess. The lies that bind, the loves that free. Our family, fractured, reforged, forever altered. But in Matthew's gaze, I saw eternity, not perfect, but profoundly enough. The boardwalk's salt air clung to our skin like a benediction that summer evening. But as Theo's tiny feet kicked up sand and Jamie's laughter rang out, I couldn't shake the undercurrent of fragility. Dad's grave was fresh dug in Greenwood Cemetery, a plot overlooking the harbor where he'd once walked beats as a young cop. His passing had been a quiet thief, slipping in after the surgery. No fanfare, just a rattle in his chest one humid night. We'd gathered at the house after, Mom's kitchen heavy with casseroles and condolences, Elena hovering on the edges like a specter unsure of her haunting. She'd shown up to the funeral uninvited but subdued, black dress ill-fitting on her rehab-forged frame. No outburst, just a nod to me across the pews, eyes red-rimmed but dry. Afterward, at the repast, she cornered me by the punch bowl. Dad forgave me, she said, voice pitched low. Before the end. Said to tell you. He was proud. The words hung, half-truth or whole, couldn't parse. Proud of what, her survival, my persistence? I nodded, throat tight, and walked away to where Matthew held court with cousins. Jamie on his hip like a shield. Nights post-funeral were the hardest. Matthew would find me on the fire escape, staring at the skyline's jagged teeth, a beer warming in hand. Talk to me. He'd urge, settling beside with his own bottle. I'd spill the fragments. Dad's last rasp of my name, the way Mom clung to Elena during the burial, whispering comforts as if she were the widow. It's like I'm the outsider still, I'd admit, head on his shoulder. He'd trace patterns on my arm, circles of calm, and murmur, "You're home." Right here. Work became my buoy. The design gigs snowballed into a freelance collective. Queer artists collaborating on murals for Brooklyn alleys, each stroke a defiance of erasure. Matthew's carpentry crew boomed too, landing contracts for inclusive housing, units with ramps and rainbow accents for the community's elders. We poured ourselves into it. Theo's nursery painted in soft blues and greens, a mural of intertwined hands adorning the wall. Elena's, trying, manifested sporadically. Texts checking on Jamie, Mrs. Giggles. A birthday card for Theo with a scribbled, "Auntie loves you." Mom mediated. Her calls a bridge of banal updates. Gardening triumphs. Church bake sales. But undercurrents simmered. One crisp autumn afternoon, as leaves carpeted Prospect Park, Mom invited us for family photos. "Just us," she said. "To honor your father." The shoot was at the old house, a photographer friend of hers snapping candids in the backyard where Dad's rosebushes still bloomed defiant. Elena arrived with takeout from his favorite deli, pastrami on rye, the scent a time warp. Poses felt forced. Me and Matthew flanking the boys, Mom center, Elena on the edge. Flashbulbs popped, capturing what? A facade of mending? Dinner followed. Impromptu. Plates cleared and wine poured. That's when Elena cracked open. "I got accepted to community college," she announced. Glass raised. "Counseling program. Figure I know a thing or two about messes." Cheers rippled. Tentative. Mom beamed. "Your father's dream for you." I clinked glasses, but doubt nipped. Was this pivot or ploy? Matthew, ever the barometer, pulled me aside later. Boys tucked in the guest room. "She's circling back," he said, brow furrowed. "Watch your heart." He was right. Trust is a slow rebuild, brick by wary brick. Winter brought the next fracture. Holidays at our place again. But Elena suggested a gift exchange with a twist. Written letters of forgiveness. Read aloud. Mom loved it. Healing circle. And I agreed, penning mine in the quiet of our study. Words of release, not absolution. Elena's turn came after dessert. Fire crackling in the hearth. She stood, paper trembling. To Ryan, "I stole your place, your pain, because I feared mine. Forgive me for making you the villain in my story." The room hushed. Eyes on me. I nodded, throat bobbing. "I do." Mostly, but her eyes, hazel mirrors, held a glint, calculation beneath contrition. Later, rifling through coats for Jamie's mittens, I found it, her phone, screen aglow with a text thread. "Need more seed money for tuition. Families buying the redemption arc hit him hard. Sent to an unknown number. Timestamped yesterday." Rage, cold and clarifying, flooded. I pocketed the phone, waited till morning. Breakfast was pancakes and pretense. Elena chattering about classes. As she hugged goodbye, I slipped it back, whispering, saw the texts. Game over. Her face blanched. Denials bubbling. But Mom and Matthew were in earshot. "What?" Mom asked. Spatula paused. I laid it out calm. The message, the scam's echo. Elena crumbled, sobs theatrical. "It's not. I was venting, to a friend, but the evidence stacked. Irrefutable." Mom's face cycled shock to sorrow, hand to mouth. Again, "Elena, after all." Matthew gathered the boys, excusing us quietly. In the car, silence reigned till Bushwick's lights welcomed. "You did right," he said, squeezing my thigh. "Boundaries, not bridges." I nodded, but the ache pulsed. How many chances before cruelty? Spring thawed the rift differently. Mom called, voice steel-edged. "We're done enabling. Elena's on her own." She and I met for lunch in the village. Thai basil chicken steaming between us. "I chose wrong before," she admitted, eyes wet. "Scared of losing her to the streets. Like your grandma." But it cost you. Tears shared. Then plans. Co-parenting grandparents' visits. No Elena strings. Elena's fallout was swift. Cut off. Couch surfing. A job at a diner that fired her for no-shows. She emailed once. Hate me. But don't forget me. I archived it. Focused on Theo's first words. Dada. To Matthew. Melting us both and Jamie's school play, where he hammed as a pirate king. Summer swelled with growth. Our collective's first gallery show. Murals splashed across news feeds. Matthew's TEDx talk on building queer spaces. Pride that year was triumphant. Float rides. Rainbow face paint on the boys. Elena a distant memory. But humanity whispers second acts. Fall brought her low. Overdose scare. Our call from a stranger. Mom went. I debated. Matthew advised. Your call. But armor up. I visited the next day. Hospital room sterile and stark. She looked small. Fore-dripped. Spirit guttered. Rock bottom for real, she croaked. No please. Just truth. Addiction's grip. Lies as coping. I envied you. Your strength. Your love. We talked hours, childhood slights. Unspoken rivalries. The queerness I'd hidden that she'd weaponized in jealousy. I'm gay. I said softly. And that's not a flaw. It's my fire. She nodded. Tears silent. Wish I'd seen it sooner. Discharge brought rehab. State funded. Her fight solo. Updates trickled. Sober months. Night classes. No money asks. Just progress reports. Winter holidays. Smaller circle. Mom. The boys. Elena's card arrived. Handmade. Wishing strength. No return address. But peace in the gesture. Climax loomed unexpected. Spring 2029. A knock at dawn. Elena. Duffel in hand. Rain slicked. Can I crash? Just till I find work. Matthew and I conferred in whispers. Risk or redemption. 1 month, I said. Rules, therapy. Contributions. Truth. She stayed. Chaotic but committed. Dishes done. Bedtime stories for the boys. Group sessions where she unpacked her envy of my easy out. Friction sparked, late nights out. A borrowed car borrowed too long. But Matthew mediated. His patience a model. We're not saviors, he'd remind. We're family. Flawed. The turning point. Jamie's birthday party. Backyard chaos with piñata and cake. Elena arrived early. Sober. With a wooden sword she'd carved. Pirate style. Jamie's obsession. As candy rained. She pulled me aside. Thanks for the chance. I don't deserve it. But I'm earning it. Vulnerability raw. No mask. Yet, temptation nips. A week later, her phone buzzed during dinner. Old contact. Easy cash gig? She showed me. Deleted it on spot. Told you done. Trust budded. Tentative. Summer heat peaked with crisis. Matthew's crew hit a snag. Client dispute. Layoffs looming. Stress mounted. Our bed cooler. Words sharper. I need you solid, he snapped one night, after a double shift. I retreated, Elena noticing. Fight fair, she advised over coffee. Love's not a solo sport. Her insight, hard won, bridged us. Matthew and I talked dawn through, reaffirming vows in sweat and whispers. Fall harvest. Elena landed a counselor's aid gig, apartment in Queens. Moving day. We hauled boxes, Boys helping with toys. Hugs goodbye. Real ones. Proud of you, I said. She grinned, tears brimming. Ditto. Big bro. In the afterglow, as leaves turned and city hummed, Matthew and I walked the boys to school, hands linked. We built this, he said. From ashes. Yes, human, resilient, laced with grace. The school run became our morning liturgy. Backpacks slung, Theo's chatter about dinosaurs, Jamie's eye rolls at his brother's antics, Matthew's hand brushing mine in that casual intimacy that still sparked. Elena's absence from our daily orbit left space. Not void, but fertile ground for new rhythms. Mom filled some weekly brunches at her updated kitchen, now with photos of the boys pinned to the fridge like medals. Grandma's gallery, she'd quip, pouring mimosas, juice for the kids. Her stories shifted. Less Elena woes, more pride in our patchwork. Matthew's builds, my murals adorning buses now, citywide. Elena's updates came monthly, emails crisp with progress. 6 months sober, caseload growing, helping folks like me. No asks, just shares. A photo of her diploma framed in a thrift store frame. Caption, first step, not finish line. I replied with family snaps. Boys mid-laugh. Matthew's arm around me. Bridge steady, if not stone solid. Fall deepened colors, and with it, a whisper of old shadows. Matthew's birthday surprise. A weekend getaway to the Catskills. Cabin rented with a hot tub and no cell service. We left the boys with Mom. Drove up winding roads as leaves blazed crimson. Just us, I said, hand on his thigh. He grinned, that boyish one. About time. The cabin was rustic romance. Stone fireplace crackling, wine uncorked, bodies rediscovered in flannel sheets. We hiked trails slick with frost, talked dreams deferred, expanding the collective to Manhattan, maybe a book on queer resilience. Night 2. Under stars sharp as tacks. He turned serious. Marry me again? Half joke, but eyes earnest. Renewals every 5. Keep the fire. Laughter bubbled, but truth under our love tested, thrived. Back in Brooklyn, reality nipped heels. My collective hit buzz, a commission for MoMA's lobby. Murals celebrating immigrant stories. Deadlines loomed. Nights late at the studio. Paint under nails. Matthew's crew stabilized, but tensions simmered. A young apprentice, out and eager, catching Matt's eye in mentorship that edged flirt. I saw it, easy rapport, shared laughs over blueprints, not betrayal, but echo of my insecurities. One rain-lashed evening, post-shift, I confronted gently over takeout. He's into you. Matthew paused, chopsticks midair. Jealous, teasing, but probing. Wary, I admitted. After Elena's games, trust feels conditional. He set down the box, pulled me close. No games. You're my north. Reassurance sealed with kisses, slow and sure, reminding bodies of vows. Winter holidays loomed traditional now. Our place host. Mom's turkey. Elena invited tentative. She arrived bearing pie, sober and sharp in a wool coat. Dinner flowed easier, stories swapped. Theo climbing her lap for auntie tales. Post-meal. By the tree's glow. She pulled a gift. Leather-bound journal for me. Pages blank. For your stories, she said. The real ones. Inside. Inscription. to truth's untold E. The gesture cracked something, forgiveness fuller, less guarded. Later, as snow fell soft outside, we talked porchside, breaths fogging air. Rehab's brutal, she confessed. But worth it. Seeing you thrive motivates. Vulnerability mirrored mine. You too. A pirate sword hero to the boys. Laughter shared. First unforced in years. New year dawned with ambition. Matthew and I pitched a joint project. Community center in Bed-Stuy. Designs mine. Builds his hub for queer youth. Workshops and safe spaces. Funding hunt began. Grants. Galas. Pitches to suits who nodded polite but pocketed checkbooks. Rejection stung. But resilience fueled. Elena's voice in my head. First step. Not finish. Spring bloomed betrayal's last gasp. A client email. Anonymous tip on my MoMA mural. Artist's family fraud history taints project. Attached. Old article clippings. Elena's scam splashed. Sabotage? From her? Panic surged. I called. Voice edged. She answered calm. Saw it too. Not me, swear. But I'll help squash. Her counselor network connected me to a PR fixer. Statement drafted. Past pains don't define futures. Art heals. The storm passed. MoMA stood firm. Mural unveiled to applause. Elena in the crowd. Clapping loudest. Post-event drinks. She raised a soda. To rising above. Matthew clinked. Eyes on me proud. Summer sweltered with breakthroughs. Center funded. Groundbreaking ceremony under July sun. Boys in hard hats too big. Elena emceed. Mic in hand steady. Speech weaving her story with ours. From family fractures to foundations strong. Crowd moved. Donations doubled. But climax brewed personal. August heat wave. Matthew collapsed on sight. Dehydration masking deeper. Stress fracture in his back. Doc's orders rest. Bedbound. He frayed. Can't just sit. While I juggled builds and boys. Elena stepped up unasked. Carpools for Jamie. Theo naps at her place. Dinners delivered. Payback, she'd wink. One night, as I massaged Matt's shoulders by lamplight, he whispered, "She's changed." I nodded, but caution lingered. Fall confirmed. Elena's promotion. Her own caseload. A date with a barista woman. Gentle. Real. Taking it slow, she shared over coffee. Pride swelled, sister reborn. Winter wrapped us warmer. Center opening gala. Ribbons cut. Rooms buzzing with youth sharing stories. Elena volunteered, facilitating groups. Her empathy hard-earned. Holidays full. Extended now. Her +1 included. Toasts to found families. Yet, the arc bends toward test. Spring 2030. Mom's health faltered, hip fracture from a fall. Rehab looming. Stay with me? She asked, eyes pleading. We rotated, me mornings, Matthew afternoons, Elena evenings. In her hospital room, monitors beeping, she gathered us. My regrets, not seeing your lights sooner. Tears collective, hands linked across bed rails. Recovery slow, but bonds tightened. Elena and I drove her home one sunny day. Car radio crooning oldies. We made it, she said. I glanced back. Mom smiling. Yeah. We did. Summer's center thrived. Workshops packed. Murals extended to walls outside. Matthew healed. Back swinging hammers light. Boys grew, Jamie sketching his own designs, Theo building block empires. Elena's relationship bloomed, wedding whispers in air. Climax crested gentle. Family retreat to the Catskills, cabin same as ours years back. Hikes, hot tub soaks, kids splashing. Fireside truths. Elena confessed final shadow, almost relapsed last month. Called you instead. Gratitude choked. Always here, in starlit circle, Matthew raised a toast. To messes mended, amen. Humanity's grace. Not erasure, but embrace of scars. Our story ongoing, etched in laughter, love's quiet roar. The Catskills retreat etched deeper grooves in our collective soul. The cabin's wooden beams witness to confessions that bound tighter than blood ever could. Mornings misted with dew. We'd gather on the porch. Mom in her rocker, Elena sketching with Jamie, Theo chasing fireflies at dawn's edge, Matthew and I stealing kisses behind pines. It was the kind of healing that doesn't announce itself, just settles like sediment in a riverbed, clear and unyielding. Back in Brooklyn, fall's palette turned urgent. Amber leaves carpeting stoops, air crisp with change. The community center pulsed as our heartbeat. Queer youth flocking for art nights, counseling circles where stories spilled like ink on canvas. Elena's role expanded. She led a group for family outliers, her voice steady anchor for kids cast out like I'd been. Betrayal's a teacher, she'd say, eyes meeting mine across the room. Not a tombstone. Mom's rehab progressed to walks in the park. Cane tapping rhythm like a metronome to recovery. Her stories softened further, admissions of bias, the church's shadow over her youth, how dad's cop machismo masked his own unspoken pains. I failed you both, she'd say over tea, hand on mine. But learning late beats never. Forgiveness flowed freer now, tide not forced. Matthew and I marked our 10th anniversary quietly. Dinner at that first dive bar, then home to the boys' artwork-framed walls. Still free-falling? He asked, ring glinting in candlelight. Deeper, I replied, pulling him close. Love at 35 felt seasoned, less fireworks, more hearthfire, warm and sustaining. Winter holidays crested traditional yet evolved, our brownstone aglow, tree strung with heirlooms, Dad's NYPD badge ornament, Elena's rehab chip polished bright. Guests swelled. Mom's church friends warming to the boys, Elena's fiancée Lila, a poet with ink-stained fingers, center kids dropping cookies and cards. Toasts echoed, to resilience, to reinvention. Elena's gift that year, a family portrait, commissioned from my collective, us all captured in oils. Laughing, linked, luminous. Spring 2031 whispered expansion. The center's success birthed satellites, Bed-Stuy base, now outreach in Queens, Elena spearheading. My murals scaled. Subway cars wrapped in narratives of love unbound, city rolling with our truths. Matthews builds incorporated art, sculpted facades, queer icons etched in steel. Boys thrived. Jamie's school art show, Theo's first I love you to Lila over pancakes. But arcs demand tension, a final bowstring pull. May bloomed crisis. Elena's call at midnight, voice fractured. Lila left. Found texts, old ones, from before rehab. Heart sank. Relapse echo? I drove over. Found her on the stoop. Wine bottle unopened beside. Not drinking, she swore. But the past. A clause. Texts from a ex. manipulative, dredging scams and shames. We talked till dawn, her fears of unworthiness, how my stability mocked her stumbles. You're the hero, she wept. I'm the cautionary. I held her, rain starting soft. Heroes fall too. It's the getting up. Matthew arrived with coffee. Boys in tow for anti-morning. They piled on, giggles dissolving grief. Lila returned by noon. Misunderstanding, not malice, apology texts flowing. Ring returned with vows renewed. The scare rippled. Family summit at the center. Circle of chairs under mural glow. Mom opened. We've all slipped. But together, nods circled. Elena's plan. Deeper therapy. Boundaries with ghosts. No more hiding, she vowed. Summer sealed shifts. Wedding for Elena and Lila. Rooftop in Williamsburg. String lights and sunsets. Me best man with a speech that wrung laughs and tears. To sisters who teach, forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's fierce love. Vows exchanged. Dances spun. Boys flower-strewing paths. Fall harvested abundance. Mom's full recovery. Kane retired. Volunteering at the center. My book deal. Memoir of betrayal to belonging. Matthew's forward a love letter in prose. Launches packed. Elena on panels. Sharing stages. Climax. Soft as snowfall. Holiday Eve. Snow blanketing brownstones. Us gathered fireside. Jamie read, "'Twas the night before." Theo dozing on Elena's lap. Lila and Mom harmonizing carols. Matthew's hand in mine. Ice promising forever. Elena raised mug. To us broken, beautiful, unbreakable. No grand tragedy, just quiet triumph. Dad's ghost smiled from corners. Pride unspoken but felt. Years blurred forward, boys to teens. Center empire. Elena's practice thriving. Mom's 90s vibrant with grandkids. Matthew and I, silver-threaded. Still fire escaped at dusk. Free fall eternal. In America's sprawl, Brooklyn grit to golden coasts. Love defies casting out. Is the lie exposed? The hand extended. The heart that chooses again. Human, holy.